Hi everybody, welcome back. And if you're new here, I'm Debbie. I make art videos and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing some gouache painting on toned paper. And it's a bit of a chatty draw with me type video. So pull out your art supplies and let's get into it. So these are the 3 pads of toned paper that I purchased recently. So this one is a very lightweight craft paper. I thought it was going to be kind of a bit thicker, so I don't know how that's going to work out. And I do have another toned sketchbook. I did find it. So we might use that instead of this because it's really quite thin. I do like this paper for drawing and it takes pastel well, so maybe. This one definitely. This is what I thought that this one was going to be like. So it's more like a Bristol. And then this one is also similar, maybe a slightly heavier weight. What is it? 92. Oh no, this one's actually heavier, 180. So I went and dug up my, I guess it's Strathmore toned tan. And this is 80 pound. And I have some pages left in here. Oh, there's some little kind of idea pages, and that's kind of something like what I want to do today. So I think we'll grab a couple of these sheets and use that in case that doesn't work. Okay, so these are the materials that we'll be testing out on the toned paper today. And after many attempts at different palette options, I've gone back to this. And this is what I started with, and I just like it the most. They're these little square dishes that I bought at a Chinese houseware store on Spadina in Toronto, back when I used to live there. And super cheap option. And if you're looking for a ceramic palette, basically a ceramic palette is just a dish. So if you can find like a dish that you like, I highly recommend Asian houseware stores. They often have a lot of different sizes that you can find that might suit you. So just a couple of these, they clean up easy. It's what I like. And we'll be painting some Christmas pigs. What are Christmas pigs, you might ask? These are Christmas pigs. Just some doodling that I did in my sketchbook yesterday, and I thought it was super cute. So I was fooling around with them and I made some sticker sheets because I just thought it was adorable. And it is, really. So those are the 2 different sticker sheets I made. If you're interested, I do have a shop. The link is in my bio and these will be listed in my shop. So let's get to drawing some Christmas pigs. Here's the Strathmore toned paper. And the craft. And look at that, I have pig color. I have my pig inspiration over there. A variety of different pigs. I'm gonna set up my colors and then we'll just kind of move in between things. I don't know, maybe we'll do one at a time. We'll see how it goes. The only downside of these little pots is that you do need a palette knife. And they are kind of old, but I'm gonna use until they stop working. I've probably mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. There are lots of different grades of gouache, but I think even the little cheapo sets, like stuff like that you get like a craft store that comes in a kit, it's decent enough. And if you just get yourself a tube of a decent quality white, because you mix with white so much, it'll kind of like elevate the colors that you already have. That's just a way of getting around using maybe your cheap colors that you already own. Yeah, that's my 2 cents anyways. I don't really have a plan for this. It's kind of just an experiment to see what gouache looks like on these different colored papers and also if I like it or not. It's also a bit of a practice for me to get the consistency right because I have a tendency to water it down too much because I just have like watercolor brain, but when you're working on toned paper, if you wet it too much, it actually doesn't show up in the same way that it would on a lighter colored paper. And you just have to wait for it to dry, so that's annoying. So let's not do that. Now I'm gonna try to like stay to the shapes that I've created because I kind of like this design, like kind of childlike, but it works because of the kind of edges. I don't know. And this is kind of big for me as far as a format. Like if I'm doing a little character, I never usually draw this big, but after my Drawtober experience where I was confined to a really small sketchbook, I feel like I should really try working larger because you can make bigger moves. And also you can have more strokes and things, more color variation. So I conceived of these little pigs as line art, so I don't know how well they're gonna work. I mean, I don't know how well it's gonna work as a painted character because it's very like line based. We'll see. We might kind of adjust it as we go. I kind of have like a little mouse character that I do things with in my stationery shop, but I would like to have more characters, like reoccurring characters. Oops, see? Too watery, and then you don't get the pigment payoff because it just absorbs into the paper. If you find yourself, like I do, sometimes having this problem where you get stuck in the details before you've like fleshed an idea out, which is like the opposite way to go, like the opposite of what you should do, try a bigger brush and try a brush that has angles, like a flat brush or an angled brush, because they force you to make bigger moves. I think I'm gonna have to use like lighter colors on the black paper because I don't think, like say a red like that would read that well. I don't know actually. We'll try it, but I feel like a vermilion kind of red would read better, but maybe we should just go green. I don't know. I love this like neon green. I'll tone it down a little bit because it's not that Christmassy. So I did buy this like desk cover thing when I was in Kia. It was in my haul video, and it was $4, and it was $4 really well spent. So if you have an IKEA nearby and you're looking for something to protect your desk, this is a great thing. And I think they have it in 2 colors. So like this one's clear white. I think they had something else. I just mixed this green and then I remembered I do have a green, like a foresty green. Oh well, let's see how this goes. That is very satisfying for some reason. Maybe it's like the covering of the black. But I don't think I mixed enough paint. Let's see. And I'm using very little water. I don't know if that's a good thing. I suppose you could use acrylic in the same way. But then you have the kind of like gloss factor. I could try acrylic gouache. I just haven't fallen in love with that, to be honest. I'm just such a water-based media person. I don't know. There's something cute about that. I'm gonna test that red and see if it does work or not. So this is the only paper that I have tried before, and I do very much like it. Actually, this was very fun to do ink drawings in, and I was going in with like a white gel pen to do highlights. I think that this feels like, I mean, first of all, my subject matter is very chill. I'm not doing anything like really academic. It's very illustration-y, in an easy sort of way, or like something that I'm comfortable with. But there's something about like kind of the, I don't want to say cheapness of the paper, but maybe it has to do with the fact that like the memories that I have of using like paper like this would be construction paper, you know, in school as a kid. So it makes it feel really playful. And if you're looking for a way to loosen up, this might be an option because, I don't know, I feel like the pressure is off. I always tell myself I'm gonna get my Christmas stuff done before Christmas, but it never happens. I mean, it's technically before Christmas, but with more of a buffer. However, if I can get things in the shop by early December, I can still get some sales out of it. I find it fun, and I think it's also a really good exercise for designing and illustration and composition. If you just like take a theme, for example, Christmas pigs, and take it to the place where you run out of juice, you know? Like, how far can you take Christmas pigs? This is what I'm trying to find out. And sometimes you discover that there is no end. There is no end. Or you just happen to have an affinity for a certain thing or a certain character, and you just never run out of juice. Like, I mean, although, say, companies like Sanrio or something, they have many people working for them developing ideas. They also just release collections based on themes, you know? Like, obviously the holiday ones, but then, you know, just gonna be rain boots themed Hello Kitty, and then there's like a whole collection around that. And I've seen individual artists do that too. And if you enjoy character art, then that can be really fun. And if you develop an original character, as the kids like to say, that you enjoy spending time with, I mean, you're kind of having a blast. Getting careless with my water again. I tell ya, it's the round brush. Pulls me back into my watercolor ways. I think that I might end up finishing these off with pencil crayons. That might look best. I mean, we'll add some color variation though. Is this ridiculously silly? Yes. So, I don't know if it's a combination of me painting on this paper and perhaps the subject matter and maybe even how large these guys are, because usually if I would do something like this, I mean, I would kind of keep it like smaller than the drawings that I have in my sketchbooks. So this is different for me. Anyhow, what I'm trying to get at is that this is very relaxing, and I feel like no pressure, and I'm enjoying myself, and I don't know what I can attribute that to. I think it's a combination of all those things. Also, if you only knew what I look like today. I painted my face. Maybe I'll add it to the end of this video as an Easter egg for those of you who stick around. It kind of makes the whole thing funnier. Maybe this isn't like the best subject matter for this black paper, but it is very satisfying to cover it. You can kind of use the opacity as a way of shading as well. Like if you just don't go as opaquely with the color, the transparency kind of gives you a natural shadow with the black paper. And I don't know if you can tell, like this is much more concentrated paint and this is waterier, so it looks darker. So if I just lay some of the more concentrated paint up here, I'll kind of get a natural gradient. And that's kind of like using the paper to create a shadow, which works out pretty cool. You could always push it by adding a little bit of white, but that's a neat discovery. I often have fantasies of working at an animation studio like Disney during its art department heydays. And I imagine people like Mary Blair just doing stuff like this and getting paid for it. Sounds amazing. There's a Disney color book about the paint girls, because the paint department, like the cell painters, tended to be mostly women. And the color library that they used, I would just like a catalog of their colors. I'm gonna have to look up that book. Maybe I'll ask for it for Christmas. Or something kind of like, feels like magic when you're like adding it on this dark thing. It's like things are appearing. I don't know. But some colors definitely need some layering or just more white. Suppose you could kind of do the line art by painting around it on the black. This craft paper is kind of slippery. So that's something to consider. It's different than the other papers that have a bit of tooth to them. It's still fun, but it has like that against it, and also the fact that it's kind of corrugated. Which, if that's a look you like and you're going to do multimedia, then maybe that works to your benefit. But if you don't like it, I'm letting you know it's corrugated because it doesn't say so on the packaging. I think when I scan this and like I flatten it down, it'll scan fine. But right now you can see the warbliness because the paper is so lightweight. This seems like a paper that might be fun to use with chalk pastels actually, or charcoal or Conte. You'd probably have to seal it though. I mean, you usually have to seal those mediums. I wonder if one day I'm gonna get over rosy cheeks and not want to put it on everything. But today is not that day. There's something funny about it to me. I'm obviously very motivated by these other things. While I'm painting these, I'm like wondering to myself, what are you gonna do with this? Like, are these stickers? I don't know. I've been trying to develop, actually that's what I've been working on for the last few months, behind the scenes. I haven't really uploaded the stuff that I've been working on, but I've been working on digital products because I like the idea, if I ever want to go away for a longer period of time, that I could close my physical products elements in my store and then leave the digital products for sale and still make sales and not be there, not have to mail things out, and maybe ultimately only sell digital products. I don't know. I mean, I enjoy making stickers, it's fun. But my husband and I have been just like toying with this idea of like digital nomading it because we can and we like to travel. So I'm trying to make it so that I can. I'm curious to see how this all scans in. I think that there's a possibility that the light will push the image forward and the gouache will actually be very impactful in the scan. What I like about, oh shoot, working in kind of a loose illustrative style is that things don't need to make sense, they just need to work. Like, it's more about design than it is about the drawing being correct, because the drawing is so incorrect it can't be correct. I hope that makes sense. But if I was doing this in a like more realistic way, then the rules of realism apply. But because this is like the antithesis of realism, design applies. Like, design is what rules. That is a realization I am having right this moment. And I would have never thought of myself as a designer, but I suppose like making products is basically designing, so I guess that's what I've been doing, unbeknownst to myself. Because I think my initial experiences with painting were like ink and watercolor wash, I've always relied on the ink to do what the darks would in a painting, if you know what I mean. And I'm now realizing that if I'm not relying on that, I do have to push the darks and the lights much more than I would ordinarily. And it's something I'm working on. Contrast. I'm resistant to it, I don't want to do it, but then when I do it, I'm like, oh, that works, you know? And it's often needs way more contrast than I would like. But it's not about what I would like all the time, it's what works. I'm looking forward to coloring on these. And I'm gonna say so far that the darker the paper, the more fun it is. I would actually like to get a pack of construction paper and try different colored papers, because like this black thing is, I don't know, it's doing something, speaking to my kindergarten self. Somebody I follow online posted this quote by Carl Jung the other day. I'm a big fan. He's a kind of smart dude. Anyways, I'm gonna paraphrase and I'm gonna find the real quote and put it on the screen there for you. But it was something like, whatever it is that used to bring you joy and make you happy as a child, that's your bliss, you know? And I'm starting to feel like that's very relevant to this moment in time. Isn't it funny how sometimes like things just like appear when you need to hear them, you know? I love that synchronistic stuff. Because, you know, you might have heard something a million times before, but you've never really heard it until you needed to hear it, and then you can hear it. I have this contradictory thing inside of myself when it comes to art, because I think that stuff like this, that's like highly imaginative and weird and maybe creative, I don't know. It's like what I would naturally do, and I don't know, the world doesn't find it as valuable, let's just say, or Western culture doesn't anyways. Sometimes I fantasize about Asian markets and how like they have this like culture of decorative items that like cute, beautiful things are not just for children. And I find that in North America, people have this mentality that cutesy things are for children, and people don't appreciate the kind of skill that it takes to simplify things in a drawing. I have so much admiration for people that can distill ideas in that way. I don't think I'm like particularly talented. I just like enjoy this kind of play. I mean, to me, it's what I used to do for fun, you know? And I'm trying to use it to make a living. And then I have this other side of me that is very academic and very like the artists that I admire the most are very technical people, and they have command of anatomy. And in my previous profession, I had very like skilled co-workers that understood the human form. And it's like what I would ultimately strive for as an artist. But at the same time, I know that these things coexist. But I have a hard time giving stuff like this. I have a hard time calling this my art, maybe. You know, like I feel like I haven't even made art ever, maybe. And I almost cringe at the idea of this being my art, because it's too silly. I guess like, I feel like one day when I grow up, I'm gonna make real art, and it's gonna be technically proficient and something I can be proud of. And I don't want to not have that ambition, because I think you need to also strive for that, even for improvement's sake. As silly as it might seem, that stuff also feeds this stuff. And I can look at somebody else doing stuff like this and be like, not think that they need to prove themselves in some other way, but personally, it's not enough for me. But I really enjoy it. Anyways, this is my my struggle, and maybe that's what comes from turning a hobby into a source of income. You suddenly like, is this really what I do? Oh my god. I mean, it's kind of awesome, but also just like kind of weird. In my previous job, I satisfied the nerdy academic side of myself, and now I have to kind of just do that as a study, you know, and as a study towards one day creating more things of a finer art form, because this is like commercial art, which I love too, you know. It's just internal conflict. if I am completely truthful and honest with myself, when I was a teenager looking for post-secondary, I wanted to find a commercial illustration school, but you know, they didn't really exist anymore. It's like I had missed that by a couple decades. And that would have been my ideal situation, because to me, like, the old school commercial artists were also fine artists and they had skills. I suppose it comes down to mastering the human form, because that's like the hardest thing you're ever gonna draw. And it's not to say that like drawing humans is harder than drawing like a horse, but more people know what a human looks like than what a horse looks like. So you can't fool people. You can't like draw a wonky person and expect nobody to notice. But you might get away with a kind of wonky horse. Maybe he needs some berries in there. So I don't know what I'm doing here with the outlines. We'll see. I think we're just about done with the gouache layers, and then I think I'm gonna do the finishing stuff with pencil crayons. But we got a couple of cheeks missing. Don't forget the cheeks. This guy's pretty transparent. Probably get a bit more on them. But I could also do that with pencil crayon. Sometimes you just want to rush to the end, you know? I think we're cool. I think we're good. This could use a little bit of... Oh no! Oops, 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 oops. Anyways, I could zhuzh these guys forever. But I think it's safe to say that painting on toned paper is hella fun, and I recommend it. I'm gonna get this paint stuff out of the way and bring in the pencil crayons. So I think I'm gonna finish these off with my pencil crayons, and let's see what we do. Anyhow, folks, I hope you enjoyed doodling some Christmas pigs with me. I would highly recommend you do some painting on toned paper. I think even construction paper would be fine, honestly, as long as you don't water it down too much. But that's something you're gonna have to test out for yourself. But otherwise, all of these different notepads that I have been testing out get a thumbs up from me, and I think it stirs up some sort of childlike play, and it alleviates the pressure that the white paper gives you. So I definitely think you should give it a go. Anyhow, thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe if you like this content and want to see some more, and I hope to see you at the next one. Bye now. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And the pig drawing didn't end there. I kept going and going, but I got a few products out of it. If you're interested to check my info box down below, and there'll be a link there. I ended up making a garland out of these guys, and I think it looks super cute. If you're looking for a Christmas craft, this is a great idea. So have a good one, everyone. See you later.